Good evening. Welcome to the grand finale of the Caribbean Touring Car Championship. And what a better place to settle it out all than right here at the historic Vallelunga Circuit. This is the end of the Italian season. What a season this has been. We've averaged about 18 drivers, seeing 17 out on track as we speak. And what an epic 5 rounds this has been. It is only 4 rounds that will be counted for their best results, giving everybody an equal chance at victory and getting their highest place in this championship. But nonetheless, it's been a season of ups and downs, nail biting finishes and incredible displays of driving skill. Tonight it all comes down to this final showdown where champions will be crowned. The Vallelunga Circuit, with its fast straights and challenging technical sections, is going to push these drivers to the absolute limit. It's a track where managing your tires, picking your battles and knowing when to attack will make all of the difference. And let's not forget that the added challenge of ballast for our top contenders is still going to be in or at play. This evening we will have our mini endurance. Typically we do have 2 sprint races, but this evening we'll have one 45-minute race, but it will be split up into 2 separate races. At some point in the midway point of this race, I will hear a beep from my alarm. Only I know when that safety car will be called, and once you get that ring on my phone, we will be calling a safety car, and that will be the conclusion of the first race. The pits will be closed and we'll bunch back up the pack, and we will have on the next lap an opportunity for drivers to head into the pits, change their tires if they so desire, and if not, they will be staying back out and maintaining track position, and we'll try to utilize that as best as possible to gain as best of an advantage here this evening. Tonight our drivers do have to fight not just each other but also the added weight in their cars. I'm going to go over briefly the individual ballasts for this evening. Please do apologize if my grammar was incorrect there, but nonetheless, Jaden Harrison now will be sitting with 52 kilograms alongside Mr. Rohir Robinson. Those two are the 2 championship leaders, but last week they did place 15th and I believe 7th. So once you're outside of the top 5, you do have a -8 kilogram removal to your total ballast. So that is something that the drivers will be looking out for. Right. So yes, so Jaden Harrison and Rohir Robinson will be sitting with 52 kilograms this evening. Daniel Velez and Raven Plummer. Raven came P1 last week and Daniel in P2. They are, well, Daniel is the next one up in the championship standing, so he will definitely be having a tall task this evening, trying to get back up to the drivers ahead of him, but nonetheless still 60 kilograms, 8 kilograms over his nearest competitors. He will have an uphill battle for himself this evening, as well as Raven Plummer, who has her next closest competitor being reduced by 8 kilograms, Mr. Roger Keller of Switzerland, who now sits with 19 kilograms. He had -8 last week because he finished outside of the top 5 in the first race. So Roger sits with 19 kilograms and Raven Plummer with 60. Kimani Eastman is the next one up with 2 kilograms. He did place outside of the top 5 and had -8, had 10 kilograms last week. Our newest ballast driver is Mr. Michelle Wallace with 10 kilograms, as well as Oswin Wilson and Michael McNamee. Michael McNamee came in P3 last week, the first podium of the season, and now sits with 20 kilograms on his belt, or under his belt, my apologies, on that BMW. Oswin Wilson is the next one as well, who unfortunately did say he would not be able to make it this week. Had a blast last week and we will be missing him for this evening, but nonetheless we look forward to him in any future events that we will have. He sits there with 15 kilograms. At this point, we'll just go over quickly the current championship standings for both the bronze and the silver class. Please also be reminded that your best 4 out of 5 rounds will be counted for this championship. It is not the totality. So right now, as it stands, we've gone through 4 rounds. This is the 5th and final round. Rodrigo Senna-Wild of AC Karting leads the bronze class with 138 points, 8 points clear of Milton Zuniga of Colombia with 130 points, and Michelle Wallace, my apologies, he's going to kill me for that one, sits in P3 with 111 points. So he himself will be trying his best to try and gain back as many points as possible to see if he can overtake the two ahead of him. He does have a close competitor in our resident steward, Mr. Nicholas Donald, sitting with 104 points, followed very closely by Kyle Barrett with 103 points. But unfortunately, not seeing Kyle Barrett now for this week, unfortunately, so we will be missing him in action to see if he can stir a little bit of extra drama there. He did miss the first round or two, no, the first round, yes. So this would have been his final chance to get that final edge over his competitors ahead of him. Stéphane Tremblay of Canada is the next one up. He is only one position behind his teammate Mr. Donald, so he sits in P6, Mr. Donald in P4 of Hoggy Racing, 104 and 102 respectfully. John Singleton, his teammate is in P1, Mr. Rodrigo Senna-Wild. John Singleton sits now in P7 with 98 points. He has had a brilliant season this season, but he did miss last week, and the race before it, Imola, did have some troubles with traffic and ended up outside of the points. So unfortunate for him there, but nonetheless, he and his teammate are leading the team championship, but they will be definitely trying to see if he can secure some more points. He has a very good chance, as he's sitting now in P3, let me say, on the practice servo, and his teammate in P2. So these two, I'm sure, will be definitely trying to get as best of a lap as we are even right along board with Rodrigo now, and setting a purple sector 1, so he's clearly enjoying himself this evening. So John Singleton sits with 98 points. David Tuta is the next one up with 84 points, tied with Ricardo Reyes. We haven't seen Ricardo in a while, so I'm guessing we won't be seeing him nor Mr. Tuta this evening, unfortunately. Michael McNamee is in P10 with 73, so only, what's that, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points behind, excuse my maths. Ruben Espinosa as well in P11 with 32 points, and Gary Otero with 32 points. But those two drivers as well will not be attending this evening. For the silver class, we have Rohey Robinson sitting with 160 points, as well as Jaden Harrison with 154, and followed very closely is Daniel Velez with 144. So the top three are only separated by 16 points. Daniel Velez is still very much so up for grabs to try and take a position in front of him, 10 to Jaden, 16 to P1. Roger Keller and Raven Plummer will be fighting it out for P4, and even a little bit further, possibly depending on any dramatics during the race. Raven Plummer sits with 123 in P5, and Roger Keller in P4 with 126, so 3 points separates those two. Deville Park with 102 in P6, Kimani Eastman in P7 with 100 points, and then followed very, not that closely, but still close enough, Mikhail Charles in P8 with 74. He will be battling this evening with Luis Arenas in right behind him with 70 points. Mikhail Charles at 74 points. So as the practice session now comes to a conclusion, we will have qualifying begin in only a few moments time. The drivers will definitely be having to manage their ballast, but also their strategy with this mini endurance this evening, so definitely something that we'll be looking forward to. I will even go over the tire degradation for this evening, as well as the fuel rate is set a little bit higher to throw a little bit of extra drama, as tire wear is at 155%, as well as the fuel rate is at 150%. It will be a rolling start, and the drivers are ready and raring to go. Seeing a little mishap there by Rodrigo, but nonetheless, the times are coming down slowly. 3 drivers in the 141s, the rest in the 142s, all the way up to P14. The times are very close. Who will be victorious this evening? I am definitely looking forward to it. The two title contenders for the silver class, especially Rohir Robinson and Jaden Harrison, now not sitting on pole as we typically see them, but you know them to be a little bit on the sandbagging edge, so they will have to drop the sandbags, especially closer to the end part of qualifying. But that being said, we will have qualifying begin in only a few moments time. Drivers are definitely enjoying themselves in the chat, and we will be preparing to get racing in only a few moments, or qualifying, let me say.
You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You see the most.
And ladies and gentlemen, qualifying is now on the way. Drivers just exiting the pits. We do have Mr. Rohir Robinson coming out to be the first, as always, to start his flying lap. Right there behind him in the Toyota Corolla is Mr. Luis Arena, so we'll definitely see these two fighting it out. Hopefully not. Oh, sorry, right in front of him, my apologies. As these two will be trying their best to get their quali laps out and about as quickly as possible. So see, it's the arenas there of Colombia. Getting a little bit wide there. We will just continue to ride along board with Mr. Robinson as he heads around now for the final lap, final corner before he begins his qualifying lap. And as always, with this being the final race in the season, we always are left up for a doozy. So as we see Mr. Robinson there heading down now into the very fast beginning of this this track, you will definitely see him utilizing as much of the track as he can possibly use. And you did see him in P13. Now is where you will see the sandbags drop, and you will see a very clear indication of where he is supposed to be in the next few moments. But again, he is one of the closest competitors here, or he is the closest competitor here in this season to Mr. Harrison. He is in P1 currently, and I'm sure we'll be trying to defend that title. He's 6 points ahead of his closest competitor and 16 to P3, but both looked quicker in the practice session, but nonetheless he still holds a purple sector 1 with a 33.930. Trying to see who else is really moving as quickly as him, but no one so far has been matching pace. But his sector 2 is not where he's found much pace this evening, so we'll definitely look to see what he can do as it stands, being the first person on the track to start his hot lap. He does have a purple sector 2. Will anybody be able to dismantle that? We are looking now at Raven Plummer, Daniel Velez, and Mission Wallace to be the ones, but he's 2/10 clear of Davil Park and almost 3/10 clear of Raven Plummer. But Kimani Eastman was the one to snatch that purple sector away from Mr. Robinson. But as he comes around now to set his first lap, 142.258. We're looking at about a 140.9 or 141 low to be the provisional pole this evening. We did say as low as a 141.072 if I remember correctly. So we'll definitely look to see what happens in the latter stages. But right now, Kimani Eastman is on provisional pole with a 142.166. As it stands, he is the quickest man on track, but nonetheless, Raven Plummer was not too far off with a 142.938. Jaden Harrison now sticks it in P3 with a 142.484. So we will see the times going down and down as the session goes on and on. Daniel Velez will take a look at what's going on with him as he's just starting his flying lap and finishing up in sector 1. Did not look ridiculously quick for the beginning stages. Rodrigo was one who was very fast, as well as his teammate John Singleton. So we'll be keeping all eyes on those two this evening as Rodrigo comes around the final hairpin and will be starting or setting his first lap. Where will that put him on the timing board? Not looking like he's setting a blisteringly fast lap, but still relatively quick for at least the top 5, and that's P6. Jaden Harrison though is in P3, had the purple sector 1. Michael McNamee, being the surprise artist of the evening, sets a purple sector 1, so we'll ride along board with him in the BMW. He does have 20 kilograms of ballast this evening, so where will he place in these stages of the qualifying session? Kimani Eastman again, purple sector 2, so he's definitely enjoying himself with a 38.071. That was almost 5/10 clear of the closest person, so we'll definitely ride along board. We're riding along board now with Michael McNamee, and Michael had set a 38.255, so that's not too bad, as he's only a few tenths off of Kimani Eastman. But as Kimani Eastman is currently on pole, we'll actually just ride along board with him to see where he can finish up this lap, and he did with a 141.507. so Kimani Eastman now is on provisional pole, and I'm sure we'll be enjoying that for the time being, and we'll be even trying to see if he can improve at any point. Michael McNamee did not improve as sector 3 was not so hot. 30.699. Other drivers in 29.6, so a second slower, and that would have just put him right there in P2 if he could at least bring that one to fruition. But nonetheless, the qualifying session is still going on. 8 minutes remaining and the drivers are out. Raven Plummer now will ride along board with her as she is not setting the track on fire as yet, but we know her to be a late qualifier like we saw last week. Did say that she wanted to win that race, and so said, so done. What an absolute battle it was last week for the drivers, and especially her, who just took the stage and ran away with it. Kimani Eastman again, purple sector 2, and not looking terrible in sector 1 either, so he does look like he may be improving in the next few stages as he comes around the final corner. Not improving heavily on this lap either, but still, is it enough? No, it is not, so he does not get to improve. But Jaden Harrison now is the one that we are watching, as he, with a purple sector 1, looks very fast now, comes around the final corner to stick that car with a 141.315. Provisional pole goes to Jaden Harrison with 7.5 minutes remaining. John Singleton and Rodrigo looked very rapid in that practice session, so they are the two that are surprising me now, but maybe just not getting it going as early as they would want to. But you know how these drivers are, they will leave it to the last minute. Daniel Velez as well, we missed it, but he is promoted into P3 again. He's the next competitor behind Jaden and Rohey Robinson in the championship standings for the silver class. So he's one that we're going to be watching very closely. 142.010. We did say provisional pole, or pole will be about a 151 low, maybe a 140.9. So we'll watch and see where they will place there. But Rodrigo not too quick in sector 2, brings it along and does not, or is not promoted, my apologies, as he will have to find a little bit more time. John Singleton now as well, very good sector 1, not too bad of a sector 2, so this lap should promote him very well into at least the top 5, top 6. Seeing a little bit of rubber banding there, so we'll have to monitor that throughout the session. But as he comes around the final corner, and that is a 142.180 right behind Roger Kello, the Swiss driver, so he now sits in P5. Rohey Robinson has a lot of work to do, but as we've seen him in the past, he leaves it up until that last moment. Daville Park, a member that we haven't heard much of since evening, but he's one as well that will just throw an extra bit of drama into the mix. Will we see him be able to promote himself up into the top, at least top 5? Let's see, as the competitors are going at it. Jaden Harrison did improve now with a 141.172, 4/10 clear of his closest competitor, Mr. Eastman, and Roger Kello and Daniel Velez now at least a second, or a little bit under a second behind him. Daville Park now heading down past the pit entry to start or finish up this lap. And where will this lap put him? 132 is on the clock as we see. This is looking like a 142, maybe 5 or 4. Crosses the line there with a 141.884. Now we did say it, he's one of those that will just leave it to just send a little bit of drama. This is his 4th or 3rd race on a steering wheel set. That is just absolutely epic to see, and especially with him getting a little bit of ballast there this evening. We are very excited to see what he will be able to do this evening. Raven Plummer as well, 5/10 up on a personal best in sector 1 and sector 2, but still not the fastest laps that she wants to be setting. Michelle Wallace did set a really rapid sector 1 as well, but his sector 2 and sector 3 were just not it. So clearly having some issues there is Mr. Wallace. I'm sure he will be trying his best to gain back as much as possible. As Raven now comes around the final corner, will she be promoted? She is, but only to P11, and as a matter of fact, I don't think she was promoted. So she has a little bit more work to do. 4 minutes remain. Michael McNamee, what are you up to, my brother? So what this is turning out to be is 2 or 3 separate races, as we have from P4 to P8 separated by mere 2/10, and we can go as far as P10 and P11 to add an extra P2, and that would be about 4 tenths separating from P11 all the way to P4, 6 tenths between P3 and P11. So that is going to be something to behold as the session goes on and on. And still we have 2.5 minutes remaining, so will there be more time to be found for the drivers here this evening? I'm sure they're just itching and waiting to go. They were talking about how they wanted to just get to the racing. They've been excited all week. They've been practicing all week. Who will be victorious? Daniel Velez, they're just backing out and saying, all right, maybe get back to the pits and get at least one more hot lap in and see where he can place on this final finishing board. Rohy Robinson just passed him on track, and he himself is out of position, and I'm sure will be trying his best to see if he can find his rightful place up there in at least the top 5, as he is right now in the top 9. But as we've seen in the past, even with a bad qualifying position, does tend to find some pace in the race. But there he goes as his sandbags have been dropped. 300s up in sector 1, and that's overall against everybody on track at the moment. So as it stands, purple sector 1, who will continue to ride along board with him as he heads up to the ending. Right, the ending of sector 2 should be reaching up at any moment now. Let's see, he comes around there. There he goes. What is his time? 38.417 is his sector 2, so not slow but not the fastest, but 3 tenths up on his personal best. As it stands, that should be able to promote him into the top 5. Hopefully that's not the commentator's curse at the moment. I know he does get a little bit of antsy, especially when he hears the tone of my voice, but he will have one extra lap after this. But this looks like a good lap for him. 141.943, and that puts him at least up into P4 and gives him at least a chance to contend for the top podium, as well with Jaden Harrison there in P1, and very rapid as he's at 400s up in sector 1, 900s up in sector 2. I'm sure he's definitely looking forward to the end of this qualifying session as he comes around the final corner, and this will be his last lap. Jaden Harrison comes around and is on a sprint now to the start finish line. Will he be the first in the 140s? Yes, he is, with a 140.960, the first driver for the evening in the 140s. Who will be able to match now is up to time and place, but Rodrigo has given up as it sees Rohy Robinson as well. Deville Park and Daniel Velez has given up on this qualifying session. John Singleton not looking too rapid, did not improve unfortunately, and that leaves him in P9. Raven Plummer as well as our next one, but not improving either. Luis Arenas is in the pits. Nathan Brown has missed the first 4 rounds. So as it stands, Kimani Eastman is the only one that's looking like he can possibly even contend, and right now not blisteringly fast. He's only 900s up in sector 1, but this will be his first podium start on the grid in the first race. A P2 for Kimani Eastman, as it looks like it will continue on this path. Nobody looks to really be improving. John Singleton, as a matter of fact, is on a purple sector 1, so this looks like his final lap. Will he be able to dismantle the few in front of him? I thought he had finished his session, but clearly he still has, or maybe he passed after this or before the timer has counted down. But we'll right along board. The servo will not count it if he did, so we know we'll maintain that as it stands. But nonetheless, if not the case, he is looking very rapid, sits in P9, and I'm sure will be trying his best to at least get up into the top 5 positions here this evening and see where he can place and set himself apart. He is, or was, doing very well in the season. He did miss last race and had a little bit of trouble there in the race before, so we'll definitely see him come along for another doozy this evening. And he sets a 141 0.942, and that is his lap. He is promoted to P4, and John Singleton is the final driver out on track. He should be heading down now into the pits. What a qualifying session this has been. Rohey Robinson, the man out of position in P5. Daniel Velez in P6. Jaden Harrison did take pole with a 140.9606 tenths clear of his closest competitor, Mr. Eastman, in P2, but about a full second in pace faster than Mr. Daniel Velez. My apologies, Mr. Rohey Robinson, who is his closest championship competitor, so I'm sure the two will be fighting it out in the next few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our 45-minute race to begin in only a moment's time. Please stand by and get ready for the action.
You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order. You see the most exponentially more contact between these rivals than in the first race. Had or brand new sponsor Ceramic Hair been a part of this competition, they'd have been getting quite the work order.
And we are back with the action. We do have a safety car rolling start. And ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready for the action. And as you saw, Jaden Harrison was relegated down to P17. Unfortunately, we are not supposed to be changing cars, and we did realize last minute that Jaden was in the wrong car for the finale. So he did get relegated, and his pole lap time will be deleted, and he will be starting from the back of the pack, which puts Kimani Eastman in the first time for Evo starting the field in P1, followed by Deville Park in P2, John Singleton in P3. The drivers should be in double lane by now, and they should be in double file heading down now to the start finish line. But that being said, the drivers are inching. I'm hearing them in the chats, getting more and more ready for the race, as we should be heading down now into the final sector of this race. As we said, Kimani Eastman P1, Deville Park P2, John Singleton P3, Rohe Robinson P4, Daniel Velez P5, Roger Keller P6, Michael McNamee P7, Rodrigo in P8, Mikhail Charles in P9, Raven Plummer in P10, Milton Zanega in P11, Luis Arenas in P12, Nathan Brown in P13, Michelle Wallace in P14, Stephane Tremblay in P15, Nicholas Donald in P16, and Jaden Harrison, as we said earlier, will be in P17. The racers now have the red flag, and it is green light racing. Kimani Eastman, as we said earlier, well, we were saying earlier, should have started from pole, but looks as if he slept on the line. But Deville Park now is the next closest, or is on pole now, with Daniel Velez in P2, Michael McNamee in P3, and Rohe Robinson there in P4. So he's already the biggest winner of this race so far, at least, as he's now up into P4. Luis Arenas in P5, Rodrigo Senna-Wild in P6. Again, he made up some places. He is leading the bronze class, and the only, well, at the moment he's leading in his class in the race and in the championship, so I'm sure we'll continue to watch and see what happens there. But Jaden Harrison now started, or got pole position. Hearing some stuff from the drivers. Let me just get back to them quickly. Apologies there, as we had a bit of confusion there in the chat, but nonetheless the drivers are going on and going at it, as Deville Park now sits in P1. Daniel Velez in P2 will be chasing down that BMW in front of him. Michael McNamee finished P3 last week and looking very comfortable, sitting on the podium positions this week as he did last week. So, but he does have a roaring Rohe Robinson double R, we call him, right there in his rearview mirror, looking if he can maybe see if he can put a foot to gain that extra advantage, because his next closest competitor is Mr. Velez. But there is Luis Arenas in a Toyota Corolla. Hopefully no contact now, because that would just mess up more Rohe than Luis. But Luis is in a fight with Mikhail Charles, who is now sitting in P16. But Jaden Harrison is the next one as well, who will definitely be watching and riding along board with to see where he can gain back that position. But as it stands, the person under threat is Mr. Robinson with 52 kilograms. But Michael McNamee there looking very edgy with that BMW in front of him. So what will happen there? Kimani Eastman, and my heart goes out for him as he just fell asleep on the line. I'm sure we'll hear about what happened. Hopefully he can make his way through the pack, but Rodrigo in front of him looked like he had pace in the practice session, so I'm sure he will definitely be putting on a very good defense here this evening to keep off the Jamaican behind him. But Jaden Harrison now riding right there on the rear end of Roger Kelly, so I'm sure he as well will be trying to make his places up in the field. John Singleton, apparently it sounds like there was an issue with maybe the connection. I'm not too sure, but he is one of them that did fall off. He was in P4 and is now relegated all the way back into P17, unfortunately, and I do wish that the drama would just not have come forward this evening. But nonetheless, Milton Zuniga looking very drifty there as Paris come around the corner and sees him right there in the rear view. He cannot move too quickly because at the point where he is, it is a blind corner. We don't want drivers making any mistakes and causing any incidents, so he did do the right thing by just holding still and catching up as quickly as possible. Luis Arena still on the hunt for Mr. Rohey Robinson in front of him, but nonetheless the drivers to watch right now, there's a line from P9 all the way up to P5, so we'll definitely be enjoying this battle as each driver should be trying to pick off one by one. Jaden Harrison just taking a pick on the Swiss driver, a quick look on the Swiss driver. Will he be maintaining his tires to see if he can get as many points in the second race than in the first race? But hey, nonetheless, who was that? That was Davil Park, or was our current pole sitter, now sits in P9 as he will, I guess, put a foot wrong again, and he will have to find his way up the pack. But he's now in P9 and now under contention by the American driver of Raven Plummer. But that being said, there is the top 3 there, top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8, all on a train, or in a train, my apologies. Rohey Robinson looking very wide there as he comes around, but he does look like he finally got that move on Luis Arena, so now he has Michael McNamee to chase down. And as it stands, Daniel Velez, if he can keep that pole position and keep Rohey Robinson in at least P4, he should be able to put an attack on the two Jamaicans by the end of this season. Be reminded as well that points will be allotted for both races. So once we call the safety car, and the safety car has been called, at that point, whichever position these drivers are in, we will definitely be getting a safety car. The drivers will be allotted points, my apologies, for that safety, or for their positions at that current standing. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison is going to be on the hunt for the drivers ahead of him. Kimani Eastman there as well. He wants as many points as possible, as he's also in a fight of his own, trying to see if he can be promoted even by if it's just by 1 point. Mikhail Charles as well just moved up into P11. He didn't get much practice this evening, but I'm sure you'll see him making his way through for at least a second race. He typically finds more race pace than qualifying pace, as he uses the practice session as the qualifying session, my apologies, as his practice session, something that we've ill-advised, but nonetheless he's not that much of a hazard when he does, so we won't cost too much, especially this evening on the finale. But nonetheless, he is one of those that we just respect, and he respects what he can do on a track. Daniel Velez now just being as consistent as he can be. Jaden Harrison not making the inroads as he's wanted, but 52 kilograms will be a lot for him to overcome here this evening. But nonetheless, who will come out victorious? Hopefully Jaden Harrison will be able to mount an attack in the latter stages of this race, especially with the championship in hand. He wants as many points to secure. He was down by 6 behind Rohey Robinson, and I'm sure he'll be definitely trying to catch back up to the 3 in, or the 2 in front of him, or the 3, my apologies, as Michael McNamee should still be in P2 as it stands. But that being said, the race is kind of, I wouldn't say plateaued, as Jaden Harrison there looking like he's trying to get a little bit racy there on the Swiss driver. As he stands, he can look and see up to P4, and I'm sure he's hoping that at some point the drivers ahead of him in P1 to 3 will either get into an incident or a safety car will be called at some point. But as we've said in the past, safety car can only be called if there's a collision of 3 or more vehicles, and I'm sure he'll be hoping for it. But nonetheless, we'll definitely watch and see. But there is Rohir Robinson there making a move on Michael McNamee. Michael, I saw going very wide there coming out of that corner, and I'm sure Rohir just using that as his opportunity to get through, and is now promoted into P2 and will now be on the hunt. He has 52 kilograms to the car in front with 60. Will Daniel be able to hound off the Jamaican in his rear view mirror? Only time will tell. But Rohit, I'm sure, is on a mission. But Michael McNamee with only 20 kilograms, I'm sure he's very much happy with a podium, but I'm sure he'd love to be promoted from P3 from last week to P2 to this week. Will he go for that dive? You see him just looking at it, and it looks like he made the move stick, but this is going to be slowing down Rohit, and it did look like he went just a little bit too deep there on his brakes. But this is not the fight that you want to have, as it's now just giving way to Daniel to just get away as quickly as possible. I'm sure Daniel there is looking in the rearview mirror with a smile on his face, but Rohit Robinson, it can keep and hold on to P2, but on the straights he's going to be an absolute sitting duck. But guess who this will work out for? Mr. Jaden Harrison, who already makes up 2 places and is now in P7. Made a move on the Swiss driver and the Jamaican in Deville Park. Now has his teammate and countryman Mr. Kimani Eastman. Teammate not necessarily in this, but as they are 2 of the mothers in this championship. Jaden sits in P7 and will be hunting down both the Jamaican and the Puerto Rican driver residing in Canada. And I'm sure we're trying to make quick work as quickly as possible, if possible. As Kimani Eastman, if you remember, these 2 were the 2 that started on pole and second place, even pole and promoted to pole due to the illegality of Jaden being driving that BMW. So we'll continue to watch these 2 fight it out. But Kimani has found pace here this evening. Will he be able to hound off the Jamaican behind him, or will he be able to make that move, or will he just let the Jamaican behind go and just use him to pull him through? Maybe that could be the strategy for this evening. Who can tell? But as it stands, Rohit Robinson about 3 seconds behind Mr. Velez, so I'm sure he'll be definitely trying his best to see if he can gain back an advantage and catch back up to the car in front of him. We have 33 minutes remaining, and the time is clicking. I'm looking at it as we speak. I'll play it loud so hopefully you guys can hear when the timer goes off, but nonetheless I will be calling it both for the stream and the group racers at the same exact time. There is legitimately a train from P7 all the way to P4. I'm sure right now Jaden is just hoping to gain that advantage over the drivers ahead of him as quickly as possible, but that's going to be a task, as he's there very close on the rear end of the Hyundai Elantra. So I'm sure he just tightening his fist a little bit extra right there, because it looked like there was a collision to be had. But nonetheless, Jaden pushes through to see if he can catch back up. Kimani Eastman there is doing as best as he can, but at this point I would suggest either throw it move and get by, or let Jaden Harrison go, because if it was me, I'd be freaking out seeing that rear end of that BMW there in behind me, especially in your rear view mirror, just literally looking like he's trying to push you through the corners. And there goes Jaden going too wide, touching the grass basically, but tries to use as much of the track as possible. And there you can see him looking like he's getting a very good exit coming out to the final corner. Will he use the slipstream? But again, 60 or 52 kilograms, he's going to be a sitting duck on the straights. Even with a better exit, it's going to be hurried and torrid for him to get through. But Rodrigo now is trying to get by the Colombian ahead of him, but the Colombian we've seen in the past in that Toyota Corolla just be a nuisance to the cars behind him, and I'm sure tonight will not be an exception to the driver behind him, the AC karting driver. But as it stands, Rodrigo is still in P1 in his class and looking very competitive for the next few moments. Jaden there looking very drifty, using the back end as best as possible to get as great of an exit as he can possibly get, but still this is turning out to be an absolute task. But Rodrigo lost out. Not sure what had happened there. Maybe went off track, but that gave Kimani the breathing room to get away from the Jamaican, and now has the and the AC karting driver and Jaden make contact. Jaden straightening him out as quickly as possible and saying go, 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 go. Let's not let these drivers get away. But Jaden there was just a little bit too late on the brakes, and the incident was caused. That does put Rodrigo now further away from the Jamaican and the Colombian. Kimani now will be hunting down that Colombian in front of him, but Jaden, I'm sure, will be again trying to get past that BMW as quickly as possible. But these are equal machinery, just with an added 52 kilograms of ballast on one driver. So will this help him? By the looks of it, it's going to be a torrid time for Jaden Harrison this evening. But as I speak, Rohir Robinson as well not making the inroads that he would want into the driver ahead of him in Daniel Velez, but I'm sure the two just being as consistent as possible. Luis Arenas now sitting right now, so everybody roughly about a second to 2 seconds behind each other, and the race is basically just plateauing at this point. Rodrigo does have the Jamaican of Jaden Harrison right there behind him, and Roger Keller as well, just looking and peering into the soul of that Jamaican driver driven by Deville Park. Jaden Harrison now going to try, I'm sure, try and get a switcheroo out, use as much of the track as possible, but touching grass will ruin his exit, and now tries to just throw a dummy, make that driver think a little bit extra. Can he get the better exit? No, but even if he does, again, the added ballast is going to be absolutely frustrating for Jaden Harrison this evening, so he will just have to try and be as creative as possible, and that's where you see the incident starting to come into place. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison and Rodrigo, they are catching back up to Kimani and Luis Arenas, but Luis Arenas, as we've seen in the past, can just put that car exactly where he needs to, and Jaden Harrison finally getting through the Puerto Rican driver, and now will continue on his hunt down now to catch back up to Kimani Eastman. But Rodrigo Senawild now has the Jamaican in front of him, and will be, I'm sure, using him to pull him through and pull him along through the field to see where they can finish by the end of this race. And in this time, the from 3rd to 5th has now caught back up to, or sorry, 4th to 5th has now caught up to P3, and this will be a battle for the final podium position as as Luis will be trying his best to catch back and pass Michael McNamee. Michael is a bronze driver, so these two will be fighting it out for this stage in the race. Michael McNamee is in the lead for the bronze class, followed by Mr. Rodrigo Senawild. Again, that brakes just looks so intimidating when you see the car just catching. But this will benefit not just Kimani Eastman, but even Jaden Harrison, who should be just at this point have some free air to kind of just hunt the drivers ahead of him and see where they can catch back up to the cars ahead of him. But Michael McNamee now will be the one to have a very torrid time, as he will have not 1, not 2, not 3, but even up to about 4, 5, and 6 drivers on the tail end, and he will be the bottle cork to this wine bottle, and he will be blocking to an extent the drivers behind him as I speak. Luis Arenas looking going very wide there on entry, and now on exit we'll have Kimani Eastman even that much closer and himself that much further away from the Jamaican. Right, Jaden Harrison now setting the fastest lap on track with a 141.929, so he is the man on the mission. He needs to at least get P4 to be able to fight off the chasing Daniel Velez to secure that P2 position at least. He was 10 points ahead of the Colombian driver at the beginning of this race, and as it stands, it is looking well. Again, points will be allotted for both the first half of the race as well as the second half of the race. But that being said, the drivers will definitely be trying their best to gain as many positions in the time. I just took a quick look at the time, and the time is ticking away. We've gone about what is that, about 20 minutes, right? About 20 minutes roughly, 19 minutes to be exact, since the beginning of this race. So I'm sure the drivers will definitely be trying their best to see. They should be anticipating the safety car call any moment now. As Jaden Harrison now reaching there on the rear end of that Hyundai Elantra, and I'm sure he'll be trying to force his way back again as quickly past the Jamaican ahead of him. But Luis has been that bottle cork and has just halted Mr. Eastman as best as possible, as well as Mr. Rodrigo earlier on in this race. So Jaden now will have not one but two drivers to catch up to, and then have a chance to try and get to the pole, or not the final podium position, sitting currently by Michael McNamee. We only have a few moments time. If you're just joining the action, there's been drama everywhere. Drivers are out and drivers started out of position, but nonetheless they're finding their way through and through as the racing is going on. Jaden Harrison now 4/10 off of the car ahead, as well as Kimani Eastman only 8/10 clear off, or Kimani Eastman only 8/10 further away. Who was that? And that was Deville Park again spinning out, and that will put him and relegate him back out to the points positions. Raven Plummer should be coming around now to see him in the distance at some point. And Deville Park now was in P8, now sits in P10. And what an unfortunate day of racing for him. But Jaden Harrison still hunting with the time going down, trying to see where he can find that position to make that move stick on the car ahead of him. But still, Kimani Eastman has been a valiant effort from him tonight, as he's just been putting the car exactly where he's needed to maintain that position as best as possible. Immediately going defensive and goes back onto the racing line again in the straights. Jaden will have to be using that slipstream as best as possible, as Jaden there just hugging the rear end of that Hyundai and just hoping and praying, sir, can you just let me through, as they go side by side. But Kimani Eastman holding the inside line. Will this be the opportunity? Yes, it was. Jaden Harrison now promoted into P5 will now have the Colombian in P4 to chase after, and then he does still have his eyes set out on P3, who is sitting there, Michael McNamee in P3, the final podium position. Will Jaden Harrison there very late on the brakes? Will that put Kimani back in contention to take that position? And the two now go side by side, and Luis Arenas now almost blocking and covering off Jaden Harrison, so he couldn't get that switcheroo back, and that does keep Luis right in contention for P4. But Jaden Harrison now putting the pressure on the Colombian driver, and I'm sure will be trying his best now to gain an advantage now as he takes a look on the outside. Does he switcheroo on the inside? But guess what? Kimani Eastman thought of the same thing, but Kimani Eastman had to back out to that, or contact would have been made. And there goes Jaden Harrison again, but the Colombian of Luis Arenas just putting that car exactly where it needs to be. Ladies and gentlemen, we have gone about 23 minutes in this race, and the safety car will be called in only a moment's time. Only I know when that time will come. And as we speak, Kimani Eastman now did take that position from Jaden Harrison, who dove into the pits looking like he maybe foiled his fuel strategy, and I'm sure we'll be trying to gain back some time in the pits. So that is his mistake, and now Kimani Eastman and Luis Arenas will have the points to sit and enjoy and fight it out until the end of this qualifying session. Kimani Eastman as it stands, looking very much so in position to take P5. Looking at the next closest one. But he is very much so in the, or Luis Arenas is still very much so in the clutches of the Jamaicans. But the defense that he's been putting on, ladies and gentlemen, what an absolute spectacle this has been. And Jaden Harrison now sits in P8, so since that pit stop loses 8 positions. Sure, hoping that somebody else will be diving into the pits at some point before the safety car is called, but as it stands, he'll be coming and finishing outside of the points, and that would be absolutely unfortunate for him in this championship standings. But nonetheless, I'm sure he'll be trying his best to see where he can finish in the remaining time. But as it stands, Daniel has just been absolutely ridiculous. Luis Arenas did have to dive into the pits as well and gets a drive-through for speeding, and that is just absolutely unfortunate now, as he looked very much so clear in the race for the next few moments, but now is relegated. Kimani Eastman as well promoted into P4, Rodrigo Senawal in P5, and that looks like Luis also just missed his pit stop, or pit box, my apology, and his race, which was so absolutely brilliant, is now messed up completely, as he's still even trying to find his way into the pit box, but he finally makes his way. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, I will admit it is 1 minute away from the safety car being called, and the drivers will now have their chance. Who will be the next one to pit? That should give Jaden at least 1 extra point if he can get back into the points. He's now sitting in P11 with that mishap from Luis. Well, he is promoted into P11. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are heading down now into the pits. The safety car for the end of the first race, let me see. And I'm sure the drivers are just anxious now, as most would have fueled for the exact moment. They knew it was half or almost halfway through the race. It's been about 25 minutes, maybe 26 minutes at this point. But with 10 seconds remaining, we are now at the safety car point. The leader will drop the speed to 50. The leader will drop the speed to 50. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that does bring the first half of the race to a conclusion. We will go over the championship, well, the point standings. Sorry, my apologies, the driver's talking while I'm speaking to you, but drivers, you're allowed to go to 80 kilometers. Green light, green light, green light racing. Green light racing is now on the way, and Rodrigo does start from pole position with Raven Plummer there right in the rear view, as well as John Singleton, the two AC karting teammates side by side now, looking like they would go a little bit too racy at the beginning of this race. Jaden Harrison was another one that didn't pit. He did change tires a lap or two before the safety car was called, so I'm sure he'll be using this as his opportunity to gain back as many positions as possible. Looks on the rear end of John Singleton, trying to get that slipstream as best as possible, but John just closing out the gaps as best as possible to make sure that he can maintain and gain as many positions as possible. But that looked very close. Who was that? Mikhail Charles promoted into P3, and that's a safety car. That's a safety car. That's a safety car. And the drivers looking at there already very antsy, but nonetheless safety car had been called. But we will get back into green light racing on this lap. Rodrigo is leading the pack again. Raven Plummer followed by Mikhail Charles and Jaden Harrison. So John was the biggest loser. Unfortunately there, we did not see exactly what happened, but Jaden there just trying his best to see if he can weave and get as much temperature. But we will go green light racing again at the end of this lap. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for what is to come. A very dramatic end to this race. Remember, we pass at the start finish line. It's green light, green light, green light. And we're back. Green light racing. Raven Plummer looking on the inside, as well as Mikhail Charles. Is 3 going into the start finish, or the turn 1, my apologies, and that is Mikhail Charles being bounced out and into the grass, hopefully rejoined safely. But Rodrigo and Raven will be the 2 to fight it out for the next few moments. Raven took P1, Jaden Harrison as well, bullying his way through to see if he can gain an advantage, but Luis Arenas as well, trying to see where he can place that car and gain back an advantage in these dying stages of the race. Roger Keller, John there disconnecting from the server, unfortunately. So that is our first DNF for the evening, but nonetheless, as always, a pity to see the drivers dropping out. But nonetheless, Raven Plummer is under attack by the Colombian, getting a little bit of a push there by the Colombian to just get the move going and get on the way. But there is Jaden Harrison. The elbows were out and he is driving out. John now explained that his PC apparently crashed. I know he was having some networking issues, my apologies to him, and it's just been a rough evening for him as well on this evening's race. But there is another pile up, and that's a safety car, guys. Safety car, safety car. Raven, bring it to 50. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute dramatic turn of events here as Jaden Harrison tempos were running high in the voice chat. We had to calm down the drivers and get them back on the way and ready to get racing. But that being said, Jaden Harrison has been the biggest loser, as he was the one that was in a battle for the championship between his closest competitor, Rohey Robinson, who was sitting in P1, and Daniel Velez, who's now was in P3, is now in in the championship standings, at least now sits in P4 in this race after finishing race 1. So Daniel is in prime position to take that P2 away from Jaden in the overall championship, and what a sweet victory that would be for Daniel. Again, we would take the top 4 results, so the points are still to be counted at the end of this evening, and the points will be posted per round on our Instagram at JSRA official, so please stay tuned for the battles to come. But nonetheless, as it stands, Daniel Velez now is definitely on the hunt. Roger Keller there right in the rear end of him, but Jaden Harris there in P7 sees Daville Park, Roger Keller and Daniel Velez in his forefront, so he will definitely be trying to see if he can gain back an advantage. But 4 minutes until the end of this race, and Jaden Harrison will have a very rough time to try and catch up to the cars ahead. But there, that being said, Rohy Robinson didn't get to win the first race, and he is on the rear end of that Colombian driver in that Toyota Corolla, so I'm sure will be trying his best to see if he can gain that advantage on the car ahead of him. But Raven Plummer now has 2 in her rear view mirror. She was one that just didn't want to lose out. She wanted to win last week, and so said, so done, and she held out for track position, and it's looking like it's bearing fruit for her this evening, and I'm sure she'll be trying her best to maintain as best as possible. But there goes Daville Park now taking a look on the inside of the Colombian on a Toyota Corolla. Jaden Harrison now just waiting for his moment to pounce and see if he can gain an advantage off of it. But Daville Park now looking like he's making that position stick, but now will be on the threat by not just one in Daniel in Luis Arenas, but also in Jaden Harrison, who is coming up right in the middle, and the 3 make it into 1 into the corner. And will this be the through goes Hamilton moment for Jaden Harrison, as Jaden Harrison comes down through the inside and takes that position from the 2 drivers in one go, and there he goes from P7 to P5. What a move by Jaden Harrison, forcing his way through. Roger Keller there looking like he lost a position, but Jaden Harrison again moves up into P3, and that is from P7 to P3 in only a matter of 3 corners. So what a brilliant move for him, and the top 3 in the championship standings now sit on the podium step for the final race of the season. 3 minutes remaining. Jaden is on the rear end of that BMW, and it's looking like he can make the move stick, and there's contact, but Jaden also has the inside line. They're side by side, axles are aligned. Now one has 52 kilograms, the other has 60. Who will be victorious? Now is where you're going to see the slipstream work. Jaden Harrison is the one with 52 kilograms. Exit is going to be the priority here coming out to the final corner, as he hugs onto the rear end of that BMW M2. Where is Raven Plummer? She is in P6. She was sitting so comfortably in P1, now sits in P6, unfortunately for her. And as that is spoken, Jaden Harrison will be hunting down the Colombian. He needs as many points as he can possibly get to hound off this attack for his championship standings. Goes on the long way round and uses as much of the track as possible, side by side almost, as the 2 come now through onto the next shortest straight, or next fastest straight on the track, and the 2 will be heading down now into the first hairpin, the second hairpin, my apologies, of the track, and try to get as much advantage as they can possibly get. And the 2 make contact, and still the 2 are fighting it out to see who can gain an advantage in the next few moments. Luis Arenas there disconnecting from the server as well, so unfortunate for him. But there goes Jaden getting contact from the Swiss driver, and that will push him off the track, and that will throw him now to lose out back to Daniel Velez. But who is that? Daville Park. What amount of drama is this in the closing stages? With 1 minute and 20 seconds, Jaden should be cussing. I'm not hearing him in my headphones, but I'm sure with the push to talk that is behind the scenes cussing for him and some of these drivers. And there he goes on the inside. Daniel Villa is looking very wide and just gives that position right back to Jaden Harrison, and the 2 go side by side. Jaden Harrison now promoted right back up into P2. Daniel Villa is now under threat by the BMW of the Jamaican of Daville Park and Raven Plummer and Roger Keller. So Jaden Harrison now just has to get away as quickly as possible. Daniel now feeling whatever effects, maybe dirty air, maybe just the effects of fatigue, with 39 seconds remaining plus 1 lap. So that's going to be about 2 more laps of racing One more after this one. Jaden Harrison looking like he's finally found some pace to just get away, but Daville Park now, side by side, loses out now, had to go off track and loses out to both Daniel and Roger Keller and Raven Plummer, who now will be trying their best to see if they can mount an attack on the Colombian, who is putting a title defense here to see if he can even be promoted into P2. Took P1 in the first race. Will he be able to hold off the drivers? Jaden Harrison, I'm sure, will be hoping and praying that these drivers will just back off enough and give him room. And there goes Roger, just taking his time, buying his time and waiting on his moment to shine. But there he goes, takes a look on the inside, goes back on the outside, and Daniel just putting that car where he needs to be. And right now the only other person was that contact by Raven. No, it was not, but very close were the two drivers. What an ending to this race this has been, and the drama, the fumes, everybody is antsy. People can't wait for the series to end, but at the same time it's been absolutely diabolically insane, as the young folks would have called it. But being the instance of this race, what an absolute dramatic finish to this race, and it is not over. Rohir Robinson now comes around, or heads down now to the final corner, and that will be this will be the end of the penultimate corner to the penultimate lap. My apologies. Jaden Harrison still looking very much so like he could possibly try and catch up, but he's trying, should set the fastest lap of the race so far, and so said, so done. That is a man on a mission. 141.359, almost a second clear of the driver in front of him. Will he be able to catch? But he might have just needed one more lap to go. 1.5 seconds behind. In front is Rohir Robinson. By the time he catches up, it's looking like it may just be too late. Too late for the Jamaican to catch back up, but nonetheless the time is not done. Anything can happen, and Raven Plummer now is on the hunt for the Swiss driver. The Swiss driver is on the hunt for the Colombian, but right now the podium looks as if it may be solid for the next few moments. Jaden Harrison, they're getting closer and closer, but still not close enough, as they now come into the final sector. Well, soon to be the final sector after this hairpin coming up, into the final sector, and he will, or is, mounting his final and last attempt at that top step of the podium. Remember, he needs as many points as possible, and there they should be finishing sector 2 there, and he's trying his best and inching, but not close enough. Daniel Velez as well has the Swiss and the American right there on his rear view, so he himself is going to be putting on and mounting his defense. But there they come. Rohir Robinson comes around the final corner, and as it stands, this looks like it to be, he is the champion of season 6 and the race winner for the second race. Rohir Robinson comes in P1, Jaden Harrison in P2, Daniel Velez in P3, Roger Keller in P4, Raven Plummer in P5, Daville Park in P6, Michelle Wallace in P7, Kimani Eastman in P8, Rodrigo Senawal in P9, Mikhail Charles in P10, Michael McNamee in P11, Nathan Bryan in P12, Milton Zanega in P13, Nicholas Donald in P14, and Stéphane Tremblay in P15. What an epic finish to this race, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, what a season this has been. Rohir Robinson takes victory in the second race, just a few mere tenths, 9 tenths to be exact, as they come down now to the final position for some pictures to be posted on our social media. But ladies and gentlemen, Rohir Robinson is the victor of the championship. What a battle this has been for the drivers. And ladies and gentlemen, what an epic battle this has been, and something that I'm per se I'm sweating like a pig at the ending of that race. What a battle it was. We have the top three from not just this evening's race, but also the championship standings. We'll definitely have to tally from the second race conclusion, but as it stands, it's looking like it's a possibility that Mr. Daniel Velez would have been promoted from P3 to P2. But we'll go over the championship standings and take a look and make mention on our social media posts in only a matter of time. I am sweating like a pig. I am tired. I'm sure the drivers themselves are tired. But that being said, we'll just have brief interviews now. Starting with Jaden Harrison, who finished in P3. He finished outside of the points, which is the only thing that might keep him away from the second position in the overall championship standings. But nonetheless, what an absolutely epic race. We'll hear from him in only a moment's time. I'm preparing for him to join us on the socials now. Jaden, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jaden, I'll leave you to the explaining, but an absolutely epic qualifying lap with 52 kilograms on the board. But nonetheless, unfortunately, we had to disqualify your time, which is why you ended up starting in P17 because of the wrong car. You were supposed to be in the was it the Renault? If I remember correctly, I don't remember at this very moment. But nonetheless, you made your way up to the field. You made your way up to, I believe, P5, P4. And then I'm guessing you just didn't put enough gas for the extra 2 or 3 laps. Could you walk us through the first sprint race, what you thought of it? But nonetheless, as it stands, it looks like you should be in either P2 or P3 in the final standings. We'll definitely have to do a tally and check that at the end of this race. But nonetheless, walk us through the first race, please.
It was a bad race.
Yeah.
It was hard to pass. I kept getting taken out and bullied. It was just a bad race for me.
It was just a bad race. Well, the beauty is there are drop races, so we do only count the top 4 races. So that is why I'm sure you'll be using this one as your drop race. But nonetheless, the second race did look a lot smoother up until that incident with yourself and the Colombian of Luis Arenas. Could you walk us through that battle? I mean, even with the one with Kimani, my apologies, and you had so many that you were fighting your way through. But yes, you can just walk us through those.
Yeah, it was hard to pass. You could only pass in one place, really. And like when the driver heads slow up in front of you, it's like hard to maneuver it. But yeah, it was impossible to pass. So I guess I just get bullied for the whole of that race, and I got a good undercut on them, and I get taken out. But yeah, I think I could have won if it wasn't for those. But, yeah,
Unfortunate.
driving for me overall.
I wouldn't say that per se. And this is racing, especially touring car racing, as you know. But nonetheless, it's been an absolutely epic season. You were fighting for contention with Rohir Robinson. I think you came in 6 points under. Any thoughts on the championship battle?
It was close until last race. I got a bunch of penalties. But yeah, good championship with Rohit. Yeah, it was very close.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to more seasons with you, brother. And congratulations nonetheless. We'll tally the points and you will be checking our social medias for the final championship standings. But nonetheless, any final words and shout outs to your fans that have been cheering you on throughout the whole season?
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is a shy guy, but ladies, if you are looking, he is single, so please feel free to send a DM to him. What's your Instagram social, Jaden Harrison?
Forget.
You forget. It will be posted in our social media, so please feel free to take a look. But nonetheless, Jaden Harrison, thank you as always for participating in our championship and doing an absolutely epic job. Nonetheless, even if you feel like you didn't do so well, this only your top 4 best results will be counted to your final championship standings, and I'm sure you will. Well, let's see how you will play and pan out in the next few moments, but we'll be posting all our results on our social media, so please stay tuned and look out for the championship standings. Jaden Harrison, congratulations, brother.
Thanks.
And ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I clearly trying to play matchmaker tonight. That was Jaden Harrison coming, driver number 604, placing it was outside of the points in the first race, and was it third in the second race? My apologies. But that being said, we have Michael McNamee placing for the second time in a row on the podium in P3 in the first race, and outside of the points, I believe, in the second race. He can confirm that for me now. Michael, can you hear me? Well, I'm guessing you can hear me.
I am hearing.
Perfect. Michael, congrats on P3. Can you walk us through the first race and that podium finish?
I'm up with the podium again. Double podium made him to finish off the CTCC championship, I guess. But race starts. It was quite a tussle. Managed to just push through, inherit what everybody lost in the heat of the action, and then on I was trying to chase Daniel. I was in P2 for the moment for trying to chase Daniel for P1, and then I had Roger in the mix. He was quite the fighter. I tried to keep me behind, but it proved to be too much work, and then eventually passed me. But guess I'm no stranger to P3 once again, so I'll take that. As for the second race, very much saw a tussle again, but I guess more adversity was at play during that time. Yes, incidents all around of being victim within the crosshairs of all those incidents, and just to pick up the crumbs that were left, and I guess I'll just come home in P12 as a result for the second race. But overall, think some things could have been better, but I'll take that for a season finale, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, and I mean the tempos were rising in the chat. We could hear it, and trust me, we don't like to see it, but nonetheless, this is racing, and I'm excited for it, because that means rivalries will be made for the next season, and the battles will definitely be continuing. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next season if you are to come. But we will be tallying the points, because I believe you are fighting for P3 in the championship standings. So we'll tally the points after tonight's race and see where you place. But you would have finished first in your class in the first race, so that should be a good accumulation of points heading now to tally. So congratulations on the race. I know the second race might not have been the best, but nonetheless, epic race to you, sir. And I'm hoping to see you more and back for more action.
Yep, thank you.
Any final words for your fans?
Honestly, no matter how much you deal with stupidness during a race, just stay stoic and just be resilient. Because honestly, I was holding back a lot of frustration, and I wanted to burst out, give people a piece of my mind. But hey, you just have to just lock in and just ignore everything around you, isn't it?
Right.
So
thank you for your discipline, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
But nonetheless, again, man, congrats on P3 in the first race. Epic season overall, and looking forward to seeing you again for next season.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, that was driver number 44. Chose the number off of his favorite driver, Mr. Lewis Hamilton, Mr. Michael McNamee. But now to finish off, we have two more drivers for the end of this evening. Trying to get Daniel in here. And car number 370, or driver number 379. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you guys?
I mean, I'm sweating and tired. I can't imagine yourself.
I was thinking about it, like with all of the action with the safety cars. I was pretty sure that your boys was not going to handle it.
It was tough, but nonetheless, the racing was epic. You finished. I mean, first of all, congratulations. This is the Noble Racing Store Lido, and you will see him next week Saturday on our Fuji Endurance 2-hour endurance next week. But nonetheless, congratulations. Now it's looking like you're very much so in the running to take that P2 position away from Jaden in the final championship standings. However, we will be using the top 4 out of 5 best results, so we'll tally those up and post them to our social medias. So it's looking like it's going to be very close, sir. And what an epic finish this evening to not only take P1 but also to take P3 and the final podium position away from the drivers. But you can walk us through your first race, your qualifying, which you look like you had a little bit of a rough time with the qualifying, and then you just got a brilliant start, especially with the drama ahead of you. So you can walk us through the first race and your qualifying lap, please.
Sure. So on the quali, I was like kind of really starting to understand where I should be pressing the push to pass. I didn't try it in the entire training because I was more focused on gaining race pace due to being a very long race. I was going for a good last lap, but then I miss it and I had no more fuel in the next one, so I missed my opportunity there on the quali. Then on the race start, Kimani made a mistake, like that allowed me to go up front very fast. I was pushing the push pass very, very hard. I knew that I had to do it because I chose to go with hard tires, because I didn't knew how long, how the medium tires were going to manage on the first part. I really thought I read bad, and I thought that we were all going to pit. So I didn't put full fuel. I just put for 70% of the race, and then go and change and put medium tires for the last stint because I thought everybody had to pit. So on that first part, I was just managing the distance with Roger, just attempting to have it outside of the 1 second window, because I knew that if he catch, he was going to be fighting, and that was going to hurt our race. So that's my quali and my first race resume.
And what an epic battle it was. And now we want to get into the race 2, finishing on the podium. You started at I think you started maybe about P9, P10, because you did go for tires, and then 2 or 3 safety cars. Oh my word. Could you walk us through those events, what we missed and what was happening from your point of view?
Sure. So I actually, when you say that it was not mandatory to pit or to do anything, then I say to myself, well, I have the hard tires. They are handling great. I'm not going to change tires. So I just put fuel, attempting to not lose
too much time.
position on the race, and to not lose position with Roger, that I almost lose it. So yeah, on the restart, I knew that it was going to be very, very, very hard for us, because the hard tires takes like 4 to 5 laps to really be on an okay temperature, not the optimum, but an okay temperature. So the first part was really hard. I had to brake a lot earlier compared to the other guys. Then the other safety car happened. The tires went cold again. The only thing that I could hope was, because most of the guys up front had medium. So I thought, well, if my hard tires are these are already where this, then they must the medium tires must be almost destroyed. So if the race just go on as it is right now, I could have a chance. But then like 2 or 3 safety cars there, it helped us to gain like 5 or 7 position, because I thought I started like 12 or 10th.
Yeah,
But it was not good at all for tires.
absolutely.
So all of the
Especially
guys
on
up
the
front went.
BMW.
As you can see, Roger, when he passed me, he just went.
Yeah.
And then Jaden catch me, and he was starting to fight with me. And then really, really sad, because I have not made one single mistake on the first race, and in any of the turns. And then on the second race, having Jaden behind, I lost the breaking point on
We
that
saw
hard
it.
U-turn,
Yeah.
and he passed me so easy. I was so mad at myself, like allowing him to do so. But yeah, the race was really, really fun. At one point, I thought that I sent to the grass the other BMW driver that I was fighting with.
Mhm.
That was my main concern, because I thought that I sent him out of the track. Then we spoke, and he told me that no, that there was no issue. It seems that he lost grip. So it was an epic race. Congratulations for the championship guys up front. And I thought I was able to manage third, right?
It's in the championship standings.
Yeah.
As it stands, will tally, but it's either third or second. After your race this evening, so we'll definitely reach out and post all of the championship standings for round, and the tally for the 4 out of 5 best rounds will definitely see if you're promoted or you will stand still. But it's looking positive in your end for now. But we'll definitely tally and see what is to come.
It
But-
was an amazing. It was really, really an amazing championship.
and it was
The
epic
cars
to
were
have
great,
you.
man.
And it was absolutely epic to have you. Thank you for the compliments as always. But I mean, it was epic to see you fighting it out up until the last few moments, and to even be in contention now for P2 is absolutely epic. So I am looking forward to see what will come by the end of tomorrow. We should be able to finish the tally and post out on our social media. So please stay tuned. But now, Mr. Velez, you should have your eyes set on next week, Saturday at Fuji, the 2-hour race that we have coming up. Are you excited? Do you have any thoughts, any concerns coming up into that stage or that next stage next Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be epic. I love Fuji. I really, really love Fuji. I haven't put any training. I will need to start maybe on Wednesday or Thursday to see what we can do. But yeah, I'm very excited. The guys that I am inviting to race are also very excited. The cars are awesome,
They are.
really beautiful, really well made. You made an awesome job bringing those cars on the championship. So yes, it's going to be epic.
I'm excited to hear, and I will admit that the cars were chosen by our collaborators, the GT Panama, and Vince over there, Vince da Silva. He is the one that made or suggested it, and we said we tested for this one before Bahrain, and between the ones in the last race and this one we decide for Bahrain for our final event for the year. But nonetheless, I will admit I did try the cars this week for the very first time, as my setup is now at home. I'm looking at it as we speak, and I will definitely be trying to get some laps in to have some fun with you guys, even if it's only in practice for now, until we can get somebody to sit in the commentary booth. But nonetheless, I'm excited as well, and excited to see you guys out on track. We have 8 days to go until the event, so get your practice in when you can. If you have any concerns, looking forward to them, and we'll get racing very soon. But congratulations again on finishing the championship. It was absolutely epic to have you, and it was just absolutely even more awesome to see you fighting for you could have been fighting for P1 and P2, so we'll definitely the tallies and announce them as soon as possible. But ladies and gentlemen, car number 379, Daniel Velez, team leader for Noble Racing Store. Get your Moza equipment if you're over there in Colombia. He has the best prices, best rates, and all of the quality products from Moza, our league supplier for sim racing equipment. Daniel, have a great evening, brother.
Thank you so much. Enjoy it.
Thank
you guys for goodbye.
Goodbye. And ladies and gentlemen, we have One more interviewee for the evening. The race winner for race 2 came in P2, and he's been in the podium for every single race with the exception of Imola, I believe. Was it Imola? Yes, it was Imola. Mr. Rohair Robinson came into this championship in with 6 points ahead of his closest competitor and 16 points ahead of his next closest competitor, Mr. Velez, you just heard. And now looking like he's taking the championship by the head, by the horns. Mr. Robinson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Absolutely epic drive in the first race. I mean, first of all, torrid start with the qualifying session, and I'm sure we'll get to that very soon. But as we've seen in the past, you're just very cool, calm, and collected, and you just made your way through the pack. But can you walk us through your qualifying? I believe you started where, P5? Was it?
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like it would have been P12 or P10, but I had to give it one more shot with less fuel, and I knew that I could get into the 41, so I was just trying my best just to get there, and I got fourth first, but John took it by a thousandth of a second. So, but nevertheless, I was surprised to even start that far up in the pack, fifth place. I was surprised, and my goal was just to keep it clean. That's it. Keep it clean and defend for my life.
And I think you went a step above that, finishing off in P2. There was a lot of drama in front of you, but as we've seen in the past, and I will commend you, a huge improvement on your past races or past seasons, let me say.
Yeah.
Your consistency has been absolutely impeccable. So congratulations to you with that. But even that fight between yourself and Michael McNamee, what an entertaining session that was for us as well.
Yeah.
You can walk us through that battle as well as the second race, please.
Yeah, I really had fun with Michael. He's very clean and he defends really well. But I had to outsmart him a bit. I realized that throwing like fake fake
Dummies.
lines and fake dives would throw him off a bit, and it worked, and I got to pass. However, he was there and he was using his push to pass. I knew he was using it, so I just kept cool. Once he was close enough, I know that he would probably be at about 50% or so low. So I started using mine just to edge ahead into the corner, and went to the outside, and I broke even a little bit earlier so that I could get the switchback. And it was perfectly executed.
Trust me, you're gonna say a highlight reel this week. We will need some footage from this week, so we're definitely gonna be posting some. But sorry to cut you.
Yeah, no problem. That was the end of it. But I pulled ahead, and I tried to catch Velez, which I was doing. But towards the end, the tires were gone.
Shot.
Yeah, I had two laps remaining, and I'm saying, please, safety car, please.
Listen, I was watching the time and we were looking at it as it was going down, and we did notice a few drivers, Jaden Harrison being one of them, that had to dive into the pits for fuel, unfortunately, which took him out of the points contention, as well as Luis Arenas. But that being said,
I mean, persons assumed that the safety car would be called at the half part of the race.
right.
I was assuming either it is called a bit earlier than half or a bit later than half. So I fueled up for the latter part.
Right.
No, there's no disadvantage. There's a slight disadvantage, but it's not going to hurt you that much to just carry a little extra fuel. And that's what I did, and I think it helped me a lot.
I think so too, sir. The extra 2 laps of fuel. Now, my only question before I let you go: did you take tires on your pit stop, or did you stick with the fuel only?
Yes, I did. I
You
took
did.
tires.
Okay,
Yeah.
your competitor Daniel did decide to go long on the hards, just went for fuel just to stay ahead of it. But nonetheless, you had a very fun fight back up to the top. Can you walk us through that now?
Yeah, the race 2, I'm not sure what's going on with the drivers, but everyone was just rushing ahead.
Yeah,
Pack racing is what we need to, I think, focus on going forward, because when you're in a pack, you can't use your original braking line.
right,
I do something called cruise braking, which is
right,
very safe. I can manage it. I can catch up to someone really close,
right, right,
And that's what I've been doing this championship, just to try to race as close as possible and safe as possible, keep out of trouble, not to, send a move where there's a space, because
right.
usually it wouldn't work well. I think this championship I was just focusing on how clean I race. And trying to execute the best race possible, and I think I accomplished that this championship, and it paid off. It paid off during the
Absolutely.
last race, because I found myself trying to dodge cars
Mm-hmm.
and trying to keep it safe, and I ended up third, which I thought I would have had the pace to pass those two, Raven and Rogers. But it was so sad to see what happened with Raven.
And we
Um,
didn't see it on stream. We
but
just saw them.
it gifted me the first place, and I just held it from there.
Right. And we did. 1 second, folks. Apologies. You hear me now, Rohit?
Could you hear me?
Yeah, man. We heard you, but I don't think you could hear me. But
Oh, I see. Yeah.
unfortunately, we did not get to see that. So could you give the audience a little sneak peek to what had happened? And we'll definitely be posting it on our social medias as well at JSRA official. But that being said, can you just give us a little idea of what had happened? Because we couldn't see it from the stream, and we just saw the camera angle, and we just saw the positions being dropped.
So Raven was in front. Rogers had a little pace advantage, so he was really fighting hard. It was clean also.
Right.
But towards the latter part of the lap, he missed his braking point just a
Ouch.
little,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, he ran in the back of Raven, and both were out of the race.
That
So
is definitely unfortunate.
yeah, that was really unfortunate. I didn't.
Yeah, but we'll take a look in the stewarding room. But nonetheless, Rohit Robinson, I would say this is maybe our most successful championship so far. An absolutely epic drive from each driver. I mean, we had we had possibilities last week of two different podium sitters. I mean, not podium top step sitters. Raven Plummer taking P1, as well as Kyle Barrett taking P1 in the second race. But even Kimani Eastman there, was that a shocker to you for him sitting in P2 and being promoted into P1? I'm sure he'll be boasting to you guys all evening for that one. But in my opinion, one of our, if not our most successful championship. We still have a long way to go, but I think we can take this with a stride, knowing that we are going in the right direction, especially with the implementation of that BMW. But your final thoughts on it, as well as your thoughts on the Fuji Endurance next weekend?
For the cars, I think our major task is to get them so balanced that
Right.
we don't need a BOP for each track.
Right.
That's aim number one. Number two, we need to review the ballast
BOP system. Right. I have
and
our
the
notes.
point structure.
Right.
That needs to be reviewed, and we need to discuss that going forward. Finally, we need to tackle the concern of car changes.
Right.
I,
Right. That shouldn't have
I
happened.
wasn't wondering what was going on, but it was sad to see that Jaden started at last because of that.
Right.
So I guess it needs to be clarified with the drivers some more, make a
Definitely.
decision, clarify going forward. So yeah, and then we can improve on our pack racing because that's where we're falling short so far. But apart from that, the series has been growing, and it will grow even bigger when certain things are put into place, if you know what I
Absolutely.
mean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And trust me, definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it.
That first championship.
There you go. Congratulations, Mr. Rohir Robinson, on, well, let's tally the points first, not to put some drama in your head, but as it stands, it does look like you are very much so solid for the victory, sir, and congratulations to you. It's been a long and hard fought battle, but nonetheless, it looks like an early gift to you. And I'm definitely looking forward to many more with you on the podium and more interviews with you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
And congratulations.
All right.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was your championship finisher, P1 finisher. And he does say that was his first one, but keep in mind that every battle has been very close with Mr. Jaden Harrison for the past few championships. So I'm sure he'll be gloating this evening, but nonetheless, this has been an absolutely epic battle, absolutely epic season, and something I'm definitely looking forward to more and more in the very near future. Please stay tuned to our social medias at JSRA Official. We will be having our official standings posts on our social media starting tomorrow, or between tomorrow and Monday, let me say. However, we'll have a little bit of information on 2 new championships that we'll have coming up. One being our Fuji 2-hour endurance, which will be our second to last major event, as well as we'll have our first collaborative event with AC Karting. They've been supporting us and we are supporting them, and we will be having our very first karting championship starting next month, but more information will be posted on that. So if you want to join, please send us a DM. These are the best karts that you will find on Assetto Corsa, and that is not from a bias point of view. The AC Karting lobby and Discord is absolutely popping, and we'll be posting a link to their mods and, well, their Patreon, my apologies. It is not expensive, and the mods, as I say, are absolutely impeccable. If you can make it, please join. If you want to just sit back, relax and watch, please join us here for the action. We will be posting all information on that in only a few moments. The trailer video for that should be coming out this weekend or next week, as well as all required posts. The Fuji 2-hour as well will be next week Saturday, so please feel free to join us. And I have been your host, Stephen Stewart, El Presidente they call me, and I'm looking forward to many more events with you. Thank you for having me, and I will bid you a good night or good morning or good evening depending on where you are. Thank you so much for joining, and be blessed.